This is the Last Temptation of John podcast, and as you know by now, I am the Apostle John. I want to welcome you to the final episode of Book 1, The Pawns of Prophecy. Hey, if you're a new listener, I'd like to point out that this is an audiobook, so I'd encourage you to go back and start listening from Chapter 1. And you can find Chapter 1 in our podcast library. If you've been with us the whole way, I'd like to congratulate you on making it this far. Now, in today's show, we will be finishing Book 1, The Pawns of Prophecy, so that means we'll be covering chapters 24 through 27. Hey, it's John again, and I want to thank you for sticking with me. I think we'll finally get to some revelations that you might find rather enlightening. I know I did. So listen, this is chapter 24 in book 1, and I'm calling this chapter Brother Lazarus. The date in my journal is June 23rd, and on that date, I got another vision. Now, instead of giving me more answers, it only added to my confusion. Tell me what you think is going on here. A thundering sound caused a man strapped to a bed to wake up. That man was my friend Alan. But just where was he? I could tell that Alan had no clue, and to be honest with you, I was unable to make out much from the lonely surroundings of his room. I mean, the last thing I remember about Alan is that he had collected his nail from the CEC catacomb vault. Do you remember that? And he was on his way to see Pope Benedict until he got jumped by that bunch of goons at the end of the chapter. I didn't see him again until now.
You finally decided to join us.
A metallic voice blared out through a loudspeaker affixed to a nearby wall.
I trust your stay has been pleasant. No? Oh, well, please feel free to take that up with the management. Oh, yes, that's me. Well, your complaint has been duly noted. Thank you.
Now, who the hell was this joker, I thought to myself as I watched this vision. What? Alan began. Who are you? Is this the Vatican?
Please save all your questions till the end of the tour. Now, if you don't mind, let's begin.
Alan tried to sit up, only to discover that he was bound to his bed.
Did I forget to mention that? Well, that's merely a precaution, for your own safety. And no, this is not the Vatican.
Now, I could see that Alan was a prisoner, but I could also see that he was more annoyed than frightened. I wondered, did he remember the conspiracy theories that he and Terry had been discussing back in Bucharest? Was Alan worried about the personal safety of his friend Pope Benedict? I don't know the answers to those questions, but I could tell that Alan was in no mood to banter with some half-wit captor. Just what do you want from me? Alan asked.
Master Alan Lazarus, until recently the chef de catedra of Bucharest University's History Department. Prior to that, you were in Antioch, and before that, Jerusalem, serving 15 years there. Then, let's see, oh yes, before that you were in the New World at UCLA, Loyola College of Chicago, and St. Bonaventure, and nearly a decade at each one. That's very interesting.
Alan remained silent, and I knew he wasn't liking where this was going. Meanwhile, the voice continued rather slyly.
What I don't understand is the timeline. I've just rattled off a period of no less than 75 years. 75, mind you. And yet you don't look a day past 40. What's your secret, man? Are you using a mountain of oil of Olay? Have you discovered the fountain of youth? No, I've got it. You must have the Holy Grail from the Indiana Jones movies.
Clearly you have me confused with someone else, Alan replied without emotion. I was only an intern at Jerusalem, and prior to that had no professional history.
Oh, yes, and I'm a retired investor on a pension living here as a Jew in the twilight of my life. Come off it, man. We both know that's a lie. If you hadn't been so damned overconfident, you would have changed your identity. But you didn't. You simply changed your locale. Did you really think we wouldn't find you, Laz? Perhaps I'll save that.
I saw Alan flinch, but he didn't reply.
I did see that, by the way, but I didn't need that to confirm anything.
Well, so obviously the man who had captured Alan knew that he was Lazarus. Oops, did I just ruin the suspense for you, the listener? Sorry. What do you want? Alan asked again.
We're not there yet. I'm having too much fun with this. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, this impresses me so much. You're quite the secret society buff, too. And I'm not just talking research. You're active, man. Let me name just a few, shall we? First, there's the prestigious Club of Rome. Ooh, and let's not forget the Committee of 300. Obviously very selective. I'm impressed, especially since I was active in those too. But by now you knew that, right, brother?
Alan sighed. I can see you have quite an imagination.
Is that so? Said the voice. Then I'm sure you won't have any concerns about this.
And on cue, the door to Alan's room opened. In walked an otherwise nondescript Middle Eastern man, clothed in a simple black robe. Standing silently, the man held a silver platter, while looking vacantly at the far wall. Now, Alan's eyes didn't look at the man. Instead, he went to the object that was on that tray. It was a wooden case about a foot long, and I'll bet you know just what that was. Oh boy, this is not a good sign, I thought as I watched the vision. Alan suddenly struggled to break free. Damn you! Let me go!
Ah, something has finally registered. Come now, did you really think I didn't know about it?
Then, instructing his attendant, he said,
Go ahead, Ephot. Open the case.
No, man, no, that's a big mistake, I thought as I watched this vision. Meanwhile, Alan agreed. No, he urged. Don't do it, man. It's a death sentence. But the man named Ephot didn't heed Alan's warning. Instead, he opened that tiny black coffin, revealing the lone object inside. An iron rod nestled amidst red velvet. At this point, the speaker advised,
All right, Ephot, you can close the box.
Whew, wise move, I thought to myself. The servant did as commanded, and then he left the room. Despite his protests, Alan was powerless to stop that man. Yet the interrogator only laughed.
Oh, don't worry. My men won't touch the nail. They know better than that. Now, I just wanted you to know that your prize was safe. Soon I'll have the two held by your friends, and you will help me get them.
Now here I paused in this vision and I thought, so this Joker wants my nail too? Fine, he can have it. Come and get it, man. But Alan didn't seem to agree. Never! I'll never help you. I don't care who you are. Harsh laughter boomed from the speaker in reply, and Alan screamed again, What do you want? Still no answer came forth. Who are you? Alan tried again. Finally the voice replied,
You know who I am, Brother Lazarus.
Showing no emotion or further surprise, Alan closed his eyes tight and whispered, You are the beast. At that, the door opened, and in walked... Oh, man, just then my vision ended before I could get a look at the beast's face. And I was left to think, who was it? Could it be Joseph? Oh, God, say it ain't so. Well, we're moving right along. This is now chapter 25 of book 1. I'm calling this chapter The Third Seal. The date is June 23rd. Now, we've just been talking about my vision of Alan and his meeting with the beast. That vision didn't actually end. Instead, it was interrupted by another view of the two witnesses. The first seal has passed, Elijah said. The rider on the white horse, Enoch claimed. He has deceived many and inaugurated the great tribulation. No angel of light is he. The fiery red horse and its rider also has come and gone, and with him open warfare and civil unrest. But then Elijah's agony suddenly returned. Now is the time for the black horse that John bespoke of. Can they resist? Enoch raised his hands as if to ward off a blow. No one can resist the third seal. Elijah fell back, unconscious. Actually, that's true. The third seal really is a bitch. You should see for yourself. Go to my website, temptationofjohn.com, and go to this chapter, chapter 25. I got a video about the 4 horsemen, specifically the black horse. And you'll see the third seal that he carries, it's a real problem. But you know what? It doesn't really matter, because at this point my vision of the two witnesses ended, and I was returned again back to my revelation about Alan and his ordeal with the beast. And I wondered, would the identity of the beast finally be revealed? My friends, this is it. We're coming to chapter 26 of book 1. There's only one chapter left in book 1 after this. And this chapter, I'm naming it Call Me Ishmael. We're finally going to get to see who is the beast. So listen, the date is still June 23rd. I just had that quick vision about the two witnesses, Elijah and Enoch. Now that vision is gone, and once more my sight shifted back, and I was looking back at Alan and the new visitor who just walked into his room. So who was it, you want to know? Well, I've got to say, I was shocked when I saw none other than Gaz al-Ridwan Maboo. I mean, look, I'm the first to admit that I hate watching the news, and I believe the President of the United States, President Trump, is right when he says that most of it's just fake news anyway. But that said, even I, who hate listening to that hogwash, even I know enough about current events to know that Dr. Maboo is the most beloved world leader of our day. To think that he, of all people, would show up here as Alan's captor was simply beyond belief. And of course, it didn't help matters to recall that I had actually let myself believe that Maboo might actually be the savior. Enough of that. Anyway, I shifted my attention back to Alan and his visitor. "You are the beast," Alan repeated to the man who had entered his cell room. "Call me Ishmael," Dr. Maboo quipped, "or call me Irresistible. It doesn't matter to me, Lazarus." "Well, this is certainly a break from your impeccable image, Dr. Maboo," Alan said. What would the rest of the world think of you torturing me like this?" "Me? Torturing you?" Dr. Maboo replied. "Why, I have done no such thing. We are merely holding you for your own good. I'd say that's pretty altruistic. And as for my image, apparently the world likes me quite a bit. After all, the United Nations just elected me Secretary General." And upon seeing Alan's surprised look, Maboo added, "Oh, that's right, you didn't hear the news. Well, allow me to fill you in. Ban Ki-moon is dead. Now, don't ask me how. I'm sure your friend Benedict had something to do with it. In any case, I am the new Secretary General of the United Nations. And as usual, I gave a rather impassioned speech at my coronation. It was a rather lovely ceremony. But more importantly, I pretty much control the world now. So there is that." But, Alan was confused. At this point, I couldn't help but think back to the conversation Alan had with his associate Terry back at the University of Bucharest, when Terry said that Maboo was the very definition of worldly, how he could fit in anywhere, influence anyone, lead everyone. And I started to think, so wow, Maboo really is the beast? Meanwhile, Maboo was continuing to tease Alan. "What's the matter, man? Cat got your tongue?" "What do you need me for?" Alan sank back into the bonds of his bed. "In your own words, you already said you control the world, so what else is there?" "I want souls, dear brother, souls." And the way Dr. Maboo said that last comment caused me to feel a terrible chill, as if he was emanating evil and malevolence. Sorry, Alan, but immortal or not, I'm glad it's you there and not me. Fighting against that feeling, I saw Alan cry out, "There is nothing you could do to make me help you, Dr. Maboo. I don't care if the Brotherhood itself did help you get control of U-Man territory. Clearly we underestimated you, and you're still nothing more than a glorified economist. You've been given more than you deserve, and when I get out of here, I'll personally see to it that you are finished. You can't harm me, and you know it." Dr. Maboo smiled at Alan's boldness. "I may not be able to kill you, Lazarus, but I have ways to influence you." "Such as?" Alan sneered. "Well, rather than have me tell you, why don't I show you, eh?" And calling back through the doorway, Dr. Maboo yelled out, "Ifat, enter!" His servant dutifully entered, head down, awaiting his instructions. "Ifat, kindly arrange it so that our guests can go on a little tour," Dr. Maboo commanded. And then to Alan he said, "To the Life Labs." Oh boy, that doesn't sound like a good thing. I wonder what that's going to be. Oh man, my vision just ended. My friends, we've made it. This is chapter 27 of book 1. I'm calling the name of this chapter Room 101. So my marathon revelation continued as I watched Alan's torture from afar. You know, when Dr. Maybu instructed his servant to take Alan to what he called the life labs, even the loyal servant Ephot froze at that thought, and I saw Alan visibly shudder in his bonds. What was it about Maybu's labs that scared everybody, I wondered? I feared we'd find out soon enough. Not wanting to upset his master, the servant Ephot quickly recovered from his pause and got to work. After further securing Alan to the bed's frame, he adjusted the prison bed in such a way that Alan was raised fully upright. Then, after unlocking the wheels of the bed, Alan's movable prison was ready to go. Maybu nodded at that. Are we all set? Good. All right, Ephot, lead the way. I then watched as they guided Alan through the bowels of Maybu's palace, through stark hallways devoid of activity, and then finally, after its descending multiple levels more, at last they stopped before an otherwise nondescript room, its only detail of note being the numbers on the door. They read, Room 101. That makes me think of an Orwellian book I once read. Ah, the memories. Oops, sorry for getting off track. Anyway, let's continue. I watched as Maybu move in front of Alan and Ephot, and he punched in some security codes to the door that allowed them to enter. Once finished, he opened the door and said, Go ahead, Ephot. When his servant hesitated, Dr. Maybu chuckled. Don't worry, Ephot. You will be exiting again. Still frightened, Ephot cautiously pushed Alan's bed forward. Once inside the room, I could see torch fires burning in sconces along the walls. The light from the torches swathed everything in a stark brightness. It was an evil paradox to the deadly pall emanating from this Room 101. This is one of my life lab rooms, Maybu proudly stated. It is where I ply the task given to me by my father. Which is, Alan could not resist, why, that of attempting to unlock the mysteries of life, the universe, and everything, Dr. Maybu replied in a deadpan tone. I looked around. Against the rear wall, I noted a steel cage, understanding at once that anyone who found himself in that cell would be facing a grim future indeed. For in the center of the room were 3 cold-looking metal tables, and besides each was a little pushcart filled with a plethora of cutting tools, flaying knives, bone saws, and hooks, as well as situational instruments like forceps, clamps, and vices. Washstands, too, stood at the head of each work area, and each table had raised edges on all but one side. Seeing that his victim Alan was also looking around, Dr. Maybu smiled. Ah, I see you've noticed my workstations. You're probably wondering, why are the sides mismatched? Well, it's simple, really. You see, whenever I have one of my subjects exposed on the cutting board, with their blood flowing freely, and it always does, well, I just can't stand to lose even a drop of that precious liquid. But with my tables crafted in this manner, I can ensure that my participant's life force will flow down the slope of the table to run off into the tiny troughs waiting to collect that beautiful goo. It's really clever, don't you think? Alan's knees buckled. Why are you showing me all this? It doesn't matter what you do to me. I'll still never help you. Maybu overlooked that comment. You know, prior to our tour, you asked how I planned to influence you. And striding casually around the room, the dictator explained. Surely you were around during the so-called Dark Ages, right? Alas, how I miss the good old days. But I digress. You will make a great candidate for nail removal, Lazarus. And perhaps I'll pull off a few of your toes, too. Of course, you can be sure that I won't overlook my favorite method of all, skin flaying. And Maybu demonstrated his delicate technique in the air with one of his favorite knives. Seeing that his words were hitting home, Dr. Maybu goaded Alan. You see, that's the beauty of it all. You can't die. I mean, I can torture you forever. And I will. Until you break. And you will break, Lazarus. Alan gritted his teeth. You can break my bones, but you will never break my spirit. My Lord will protect that much. Even your master broke in the end, Mabu sneered. Preposterous! Jesus never broke, Alan resisted. Search your feelings, man. You know that I'm correct, Dr. Mabu replied. My father and I, we had Jesus on the brink, ready to give up. You know how forsaken he felt on that cross. It was his moment of truth, and when he finally realized his father had abandoned him, you know how he wailed. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, Alan whispered. My God, why have you forsaken me? Mabu translated in delight. It's true. Your master, your great master, doubted himself, and he doubted all that he thought he was. But in the end, God did save his son. Alan fought against Mabu's logic. Your God broke his promise to my father, Mabu yelled back at him. The deal was that we could tempt Jesus without him getting assistance from above. Alan didn't reply to that. He was seemingly caught in his own vision of what Christ must have endured in the limbo of hell without his Father's protection. Okay. I'm going to admit, this is all news to me. I mean, even though I told you readers that I don't care, I'm not all that keen on doubting the power of God. I mean, it's one thing for a child to complain about his parents, but, the kid usually doesn't like it when an outsider is doing the insulting, right? And that's kind of how I felt as I watched this vision. I mean, Dr. Mabu was really starting to get my goat. Meanwhile, Mabu was talking again. Nonetheless, Alan, you see, we are patient. My father and I, we know the treacherous ways of the cursed one. And after Jesus' death, when he descended down to us, we had 3 good days with him. But see, there again, your God broke his promise, and he forced us to give up his pitiful son, right when we were ready to break him for good. This is insane, Alan yelled. Jesus descended to hell, he overcame death, and he rose again in victory within 3 days. That's what the scriptures said. Mabu waved a hand at that. Those were documents written by men way after the fact, and they don't prove anything. I mean, talk about revisionist history. Okay, listener. So Dr. Mabu does have a point there. I mean, but we did write them after the fact, but when else could we have written them? It's not like we could have written them down at the time that all this was happening. Meanwhile, Alan wasn't swayed. That's not even worth my reply, Dr. Mabu. Believe what you will, but the point is, your Christ did not defeat death. Dr. Mabu was smiling again, and he certainly did not defeat my father. I mean, if so, why is this great war not over? No, the fact is, man, that we let Jesus go. You're mad, Alan scoffed. Perhaps. Even still, I speak the truth, Dr. Mabu replied. After all, in your own scriptures, didn't Jesus repeatedly say that your own generation would not pass away before his second coming? Well, then where is he? Ooh, now that was starting to hit a little too close to home, and I pulled back from the vision. I mean, if I had any power to end my visions, this would have been one that I would have sacked. But alas, I was locked in, and like Alan, I was forced to keep listening to this madman. I tell you the real truth, Dr. Mabu averred. Your Messiah is a coward. Alan tried to change the subject. I will endure anything you throw at me, and my God will give me all the strength I need. I figured you'd say that. Which is why my plan is not really to torture you indefinitely, Alan. You see, I just want to give you a taste of what your friends will feel. What do you mean? Alan wondered. Have you done something with Benedict? Oh, don't worry about Joseph, Dr. Mabu replied. I mean, after all, evil men are always snared by their own sin, so he'll take care of himself. Then who are you talking about? Alan tried to play dumb. What are you really after, Dr. Mabu? Surely you know, Alan, that I want all 3 of the nails of Christ. And as to what I want, you know that too, brother. Why, I want to destroy you. I want to destroy your master, and I want to destroy all that ever was. I want to consume it all. I want to be all. Okay, I got to admit, by this point, I actually pissed my pants. And saying that was because I'm just an old man is not really true. I mean, watching this vision freaked me out. Thankfully, my vision ended, and I could go back to my bottles of Jack. And yes, I said bottles. It was the only way I knew I could escape my fate. Or so I hoped. You've reached the end of book number 1, The Pawns of Prophecy. Continue your journey with book number 2, The Rise of the Antichrist. Whoa, that was a bit too scary for my taste, so I had to hit the pause button. Okay, so what now? Well, it is true, we have indeed reached the end of our journey through book 1, but remember, this is a trilogy, so we still have 2 more books from John to hear about, and that makes me pretty excited. I hope you too. If you want to know about them as soon as they come out, then be sure to head over to our website, www.temptationofjohn.com, and on there you can sign up for John's book club. It's at the top of the homepage. It's free to join, and you'll be notified when new episodes are released. Also on the website, you'll find the full text versions of every chapter of every book. So if you're just dying to know what happens, you can read books 2 and 3 online right now at temptationofjohn.com. In addition to the book itself, the website also has behind-the-scenes references about the Apostle John, Mary Magdalene, the Antichrist, the Book of Revelations, and much more. So visit us on the site today and say hi to John. I know he'd love to hear from you. So listen, as we close out this first book, I'd like to again say thank you for being a loyal listener. John and I value each and every person who tunes into this show. Drop us a note on the website and be sure to share this podcast with a friend so that more people can join the party. Finally, John asked me to finish with the words of his favorite crooner, Jim Reeves. Adios, amigo, adios, my friend. The road we have traveled has come to an end.